forms for an equation for a line. One of them is the slope-intercept. What is the slope-intercept format? Y equals mx plus b, where you will end up with numbers in the position of m, which is what? Your slope, and in the position of b, which is your y-intercept. So we know that piece of information. The other one, do you remember what the other equation for a line was? Point slope. You're given a point and slope. So the point slope form for an equation for a line, they use a 0, but I use a subscript of 1. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1, where what is m? A number, it's your slope, and x sub 1, y sub 1 is a point. So you would have numbers in the highlighted positions for that equation as well. All right, so let's look at some examples that you would use if you were working with this information. You're going to find out a lot of this looks like some stuff you did clear back in Algebra 2. So if I ask you to, can I shorthand? Find an equation for the line through the point 2, -3. Oh, that's a bad 3. Sorry. Through the point 2, -3. Here's where it should sound familiar. That is parallel to the line. I should have had this typed up. Sorry. To the line with the equation, or to the line with the equation of 3x minus 4y equals 7. Look familiar? Yep. I want an equation for a line that goes through this point. So that point is on the line for the equation that I'm looking for. The second thing that it says is it's parallel to that line. What do you know about parallel lines? Nope. Parallel lines have equal slopes. Parallel lines have equal slopes. So I need to take 3x minus 4y equals 7, and I need to find the slope. So what I need to think of, just refreshing your memory because you've done this before, what I need to think of is if it's in the format y equals mx plus b, where is that slope at? M. So if I can get it into this format right here, the coefficient of x is going to be your slope. So I need to, how can I take that equation of that line and get it into that format? You solve for y, so I'm going to subtract 3x, move the 3x over. So I get 4y is equal to negative 3x plus 7, and then divide by negative 4. So I get y is equal to, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I get positive 3/4 x minus 7/4. What is the slope? 3/4. If it said perpendicular to it, what would you use? Negative 4/3, because perpendicular lines have negative reciprocals for slopes. So parallel, my slope is going to end up to be 3/4. If it said perpendicular, then your slope would be negative 4/3. But what I want now is I want an equation for a line that has a slope that's the same as this one. So I want a slope of 3/4, and it goes through the point 2, -3. Don't make it difficult. They might ask for it in a particular format, but this is the first thing I would do. If they don't ask for it in any particular format, I would use that point slope format. Because the point slope format looks like this. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1. They use zeros in the book. But here's what you have. Your slope is 3/4. So that's going to go right there. What else do we have? X, my x value is 2. That goes in for x sub 1. And then you have your y value. Those two colors really clash together, I think. Your y value is -3. That's going to go right here. So you don't have to write all of that out. I did it so that you could see where it's coming from. But here's what's going to be your equation. Y minus, now I'm going to use parentheses here for a second. That y value of your point, which is -3, equals your slope, which is 3/4 times x minus the x value of your point, which is 2. So if I just wanted to write the equation for the line, I would say it is y plus 3 is equal to 3/4 times the quantity x minus 2. Here's your answer. What if, just to expand it to some other things, knowing what's going to be asked in your homework assignment, what if they specifically ask for it in slope y-intercept format or slope-intercept format? Yeah, I'm going to solve for y. So I'm going to take the equation that's given to me, and I'm going to distribute that 3/4 through. Distribute the 3/4 through. And if you distribute the 3/4, you get 3/4 x minus 3/2. 6/4 reduces down to 3/2. And then I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and you get y is equal to 3/4 x minus 9/2. This is a different format you could have it in, possibly, if they ask you for the y-intercept format. Now, what if they ask you that other format you've noticed that they're going to ask you in the homework assignment, which is ax plus by equals c? I'll stay over here on this side. So what if they want it in the form of ax plus by equals c? When they do that, they want a, b, and c to actually be integers. They don't want it to be rational numbers, so they want to get rid of the fractions. How do you get rid of the fractions? What's that common denominator? You did this last year. 4. So I would take my equation. I'll just start all over here again. And if I want, since it's an equation, if I want to get rid of the denominator values, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. Still balanced, legal move for algebra. On the right-hand side, you use the distributive property. So I'm going to take both sides by 4. So then what's your equation look like? 4y equals, the 4's cancel, so I get 3x minus 2 goes into 4, 2 times, so you get minus 18. Oh, what format did they want it in? ax plus by equals c. Now I'm going to tell you 2 different things here. You're going to find it easy just to move the 3x over to the other side, right? Yeah, that's what that's what people are going to want to do. So you're going to write it as -3x when you subtract it to move it over, plus 4y equals -18. But I am guessing that if you were to look that up in the back of your, like in the back of the book or over in the Bible or in a solutions manual at college, they're going to have every single sign different because they like that lead coefficient to be positive. And that lead coefficient, they still want it as x and not y. So they wouldn't show it as 4y minus 3x equals -18. So what they're in essence doing is keeping that 3 positive. So they're moving the 4y over and the 18 over. But that means the same thing as just dividing everything by -1. So you would show it as 3x minus 4y equals 18. And this is probably what you're going to see as the answer, because you're going to want that to be positive. I would recommend the first thing you do is go back and get rid of the fractions so that you can just work with your a and your x as whole numbers. Actually, everything is whole numbers. Move it over and then make sure the x is positive by changing every single sign if it happens to be negative. So that's how they want you to get it into that particular format. Are you ready for another example? Yes? Questions? I mean, except for maybe this last format here, the rest should all be review. Should be. It's that final format. It's maybe where you're going to run into troubles. Okay, within your book, so I don't have to write the whole thing down. So hopefully you have no. So if you look at example D in your book, find an equation for a line through the intersection of the lines. Intersection of the lines, 3x minus 2y equals 10. Oh, right there. What's that format? ax plus by equals c. So it's in that format. And 2x plus 6y equals 14. So I want to find it between the intersection of those, and it has a slope of negative 2/3. Write your answer in the form of ax plus by equals c. Okay, without looking at the rest of the example in the book, it says the intersection of these two lines. How do I know those are lines, first of all? It's to the first degree. You have x and y both to the first power, which means it's a first degree equation, because your highest degree of a term is to the first power. You go clear back in algebra 2 and remember degrees. Okay, if I did something in the book, they moved this 2x plus 6y equals 14, so it's in the same line in the statement as you're reading it. But when I put it right under the other one, if I were to do something like this, what do you think of? Elimination or substitution. And what do we say elimination substitution found for you? What point is it? The intersection point. So we're going to find the intersection point. Then I have a point and I have a slope. Can you write an equation if you know a point and a slope? Yep. The two forms we know is if I knew the point and I know a slope, I could write an equation for a line by using the point slope form. Or I have to know the slope and the intercept. Then I could use the y equals mx plus b form. But I don't know that, do I? It says through an intersection point, and I know that elimination substitution to those two equations will find that intersection point. So I have a point and a slope. So let's do elimination substitution. What do you want to eliminate? Great, the y's. Audio is all you get online, so they can't see me directing you. So I want to take the top equation times 3, which gives you 9x minus 6y equals 30, and 2x plus 6y equals 14. So your y's drop out. 11x is equal to 44, so what is x? X is equal to 4. That is the x value of my intersection point. So now I'm going to take 4, and how do I find y? Plug it in to which equation? Either one, does not matter. The top one has smaller numbers, so let's put it into the top equation. So if I put it into that top equation, what I'm going to get, 3 times 4, so I get 12 minus 2y equals 10. So I subtract and you get negative 2y is equal to negative 2. So y is equal to 1. Concur? Right? I'm in the intersection point now. I shouldn't probably do that. I have an intersection point now. I can use that with my slope over here. So I have slope and I have a point. What's that point? 4, 1. What do they want? Equation for a line. How can I write an equation for a line? Point slope format. It's y minus 1, the y value of your point, equals negative 2/3 times. There you go. If they didn't tell me a specific format, that's an equation for a line, you'd be done. See how nice that is? Now they want you to put it in a particular format, right? What is that particular format? Thank you. AX plus BY equals C. Well, how can I do that? Well, I would first, and I don't even have to go that far, really. Let's just distribute that first. If I distribute that, I get y minus 1 is equal to negative 2/3 x, and then I get plus 8/3. You could right now, if you wanted to, add 1. Do you want to do that? We can do that, or you could just multiply everything by 3 right now and then move that constant over. Doesn't matter if you want to do it with fractions or if you don't want to do it with fractions. Let's look at it both ways, and I bet you may change your mind. Just guessing. So we're going to work through it 2 different ways. First, let's move the 1 over. If I move the 1 over, I get y is equal to negative 2/3 x. Oh boy. Now this is where I run into troubles. If I move the 1 over, now I got to think of what is 8/3 plus 1. I have to think a little bit because we don't like fractions. What is it? 11/3. So I get plus 11/3. Okay, let me get rid of this now. If we're good with fractions, we have no problem with that. Now what do you want to do to get it into that AX plus BY equals C? I would get rid of the fractions first. If I get rid of the fractions, what do I have to do? Multiply everything by 3. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. When you do that, what do you get? You get 3y. You got to multiply both sides by it. So 3y is equal to, now go, negative 2x plus 11. To get it in that format, AX plus BY equals C, what are we going to do? Add 2x. So you get 2x plus 3y equals 11. And there's your answer. Now, if I choose not to do that as the first step, by adding 1 over to the other side and getting it into slope y-intercept format, because it shows here that my y-intercept is 11/3. That's actually a point, and you could graph that. But what if you could graph it from here. Keep that in mind. You could graph from the point slope format. You would just start at 4, 1. So I'd start over here at 4 and up 1. And from there, you would do rise over run, and you could graph your line. This one is saying that my y-intercept is 11/3, so I'm going to find out where 11/3 is. And then I'm going to go up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, and then you can get your line. Getting there the same way. Okay, not the same way, but I mean, they're still doing a point and counting rise over run. The other way to do it, what if I just multiply everything by 3 first? So what happens if I just multiply by 3 across the whole equation? So I'm going to multiply my equation by 3. If I do that, what does the left-hand side become? 3y minus 3. And the right-hand side becomes negative 2x plus 8. Oh, no fractions. That's nice, right? Because what am I going to do from there? Well, let's move the 2x over by adding it and move the negative 3 over by adding it. And you get positive 2x plus 3y. And 8 plus 3 is 11. I didn't have to work with fractions. That's kind of nice. I don't care which way you get there, but hopefully you saw how one method might be easier than the other. But it depends on which way you think. Okay with that?